agree with a special prosecutor has to be an independent special prosecutor has to take over? Do you believe that DOJ and FBI right now, with the guys who are all close to Pam Bondi, Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, do you think they have any credibility left to pursue this?
No, and I'll tell you exactly why, Steve, because in 2016, we trusted the plan with Trump. But now Trump has become the deep state. The exact thing we voted him in.
Why do you say he's become the deep state?
What is more deep state than covering up for pedophiles? Why would you go to that island? Why?
Oh my God. All right, folks. That is MAGA turning on Donald Trump in real time. Additional stunning on-camera evidence. That exchange took place at Turning Point USA's Student Action Summit. It's one of the biggest conservative conferences by one of the biggest conservative, activist groups in the country. This is a pro-Trump group, and they are publicly turning on Donald Trump, torching him, accusing him of being part of the deep state, the ominous deep state, accusing him of covering up for a pedophile. And this has stunned top MAGA influencers like Steve Bannon and Natalie Winters. And there's more where that came from. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, folks, this is not good for Donald Trump. If this momentum, if this energy continues, Trump's coalition is in serious jeopardy ahead of the 2026 midterms. And again, I should note, it's entirely possible that it heals. We have seen Donald Trump constantly lie to and betray his base time and time again, and violate purported principles time and time again, and the base always finds a way. They twist themselves in knots to back Donald Trump because this is largely an authoritarian cult of personality. So it's possible that will happen here. But so far, we are seeing increasing signs of backlash from multiple vectors and a lot of public defiance at this tpusa conference. Here's another clip.
I'm 15.
15 out here. What matters to you? Does this Epstein matter to you? What issues matter to you?
Yeah, I think that Epstein matters to me a lot because I think the fate and the trust of the government is on the line here. I think President Trump should tell Pam Bondi to do a press conference. The American people have a lot of questions, and I think they need to be answered.
Young lady, what about you? Epstein, does it matter to you?
Yes, I think it's super important, and Trump needs to help bring light to that. Yeah.
Will he lose his base if he doesn't?
Yeah, I think he will.
I'm 15.
Damn. Okay, again, the one thing you have to understand about tpusa, this is Charlie Kirk's organization. It's an activist group designed to radicalize young people into becoming radical right-wingers. And so you're hearing from these teenagers say that, yes, they've been devoutly loyal to Trump, but this is a colossal fiasco, this debacle, this mishandling of the Epstein situation, such that Trump can't count on their support if he continues to screw this up in their eyes. Talk about being hoisted by your own petard. But wait, there's more.
They feel confused. They definitely feel gaslit. They feel lied to, and they're not understanding why for months now we've been told the list is coming. You had the binder debacle. So there's a lot of things here that it's been dangled in front of us like a carrot and then pulled away. And so inevitably that's going to leave people with a feeling of there's something they're not telling us. That is a dangerous feeling to let simmer and sit with a voter base, because then they're going to start focusing on that and wondering, what else are we not being told? Is everything we're being told truthful?
No, obviously not. Trump is an inveterate liar. Again, the most prolific liar that we have seen in modern politics by far. There is no counterpart to this in the Democratic Party. He has lied again and again and again, betrayed major promises, not just in terms of political policy per se, but also just promises along the way. I'm going to end the Ukraine-Russia war in one day, 24 hours. I'm going to instantly end inflation. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. He has violated his promises time and time again. So what's interesting here is you have public commentators, people with microphones and cameras at one of, if not the biggest pro-Trump rallies in the country, publicly questioning him, publicly criticizing him, publicly defying him, saying that this is not good, especially as we approach the 2026 midterms, and this could cause an electorally consequential fraction, and we'll get, or fracture rather, and we'll get to that because Steve Bannon himself weighs in on that in a clip I'll show you here in a few minutes. But this is a stunning turn of events, and again, one of Donald Trump's own making. Because had he and his campaign not leaned so much into the Epstein conspiracy theories, had he not fed that beast in an effort to weaponize it, we probably wouldn't be here today, or he wouldn't be here today.
The only solution for Epstein right now, and you had Dershowitz in our cold open, who happens to be Epstein's lawyer and says there is a list. There's only one solution, and I'll throw that to my colleagues in Berquam and Jane when we get back. You must appoint a special prosecutor immediately. That special prosecutor, right?
Who wants a special prosecutor on Epstein?
You have to do it. You have to do it. DOJ and FBI love those guys, but they can't, no possibility they can do it. Too busy.
So what they're saying is that Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, Kash Patel, like in a roundabout way, not only is Bannon turning on Pam Bondi, which isn't as much of a surprise, he's turning on Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, two strident MAGA warriors who, as we discussed in one of yesterday's videos, are now threatening to resign. They've effectively given Trump reportedly an ultimatum. Either you get rid of Pam Bondi or we're leaving. We'll see what happens from that, right? It's entirely possible they back down. It's entirely possible that Trump concedes and gives them that. But Steve Bannon is saying they can't be trusted, not just Bondi, but Patel and Bongino. And so now you have to appoint some sort of MAGA special prosecutor to act independent of the DOJ, like a MAGA Jack Smith. That's what they're looking for, at least. That's what Bannon is publicly calling for. Here's another clip, but a more extended clip of the first one that we did in the cold open.
If you were in the Oval this morning with the president before he left for Kerrville, Texas, give me your top three things that you would tell the president of the United States that, coming from a young person in the base and a dedicated worker and follower of his, that you feel he needs to do right now.
We need to enforce the laws of this country, and like you said, Steve, there's no better question than who rules America. It's not the people. So we need to obviously have the declassification of the
You don't
Epstein
think
files.
Donald Trump is president? You would tell Donald Trump in the Oval Office that you think there's an open question with him as commander in chief and doing all he's doing. You would actually tell Trump you don't know, you question who rules this country?
I definitely would, because it's a blackmail ring, and anybody who wouldn't is not paying attention. Simply put, Epstein himself said that he was best friends on the stand with Donald Trump. So anybody who thought that these files were going to get just declassified because we pressured him enough or you voted harder enough is just lying to yourself.
So again, we're going to play the rest of this, but damn, this is pretty friggin' blunt. Now, obviously, this guy is not going to get in a room with Trump. It's easier said than done, talking shit to the president of the United States, no matter who it is, right? But I love this energy. I love this energy that, this guy is a relatively young guy. Again, this is Student Action Summit, feels bold enough, despite his youth and likely inexperience, to go toe-to-toe with these MAGA stalwarts, these cultists of Trump, and push back and say, yeah, there is a question about who's running the country. And by the way, there is a question of who's running the country. If you look at Trump's, almost schizophrenic flip-flopping on like immigration policy, for example, he's underwater in the polls with respect to his immigration policy, and in particular, his cruel and draconian and wildly inconsistent mass deportation initiative. So he's gone back and forth. He's like, okay, fine, we're just going to go after the criminals. Okay, no, we're going to go after everybody. No, we're going to go after the criminals. Okay, we're going to make exceptions for people in the farm industry and hospitality industry, but then everyone else is fair game, including criminals. And then he just goes back and forth, and it seems like there's a push-pull between Trump and his much smarter and equally, if not more malevolent, Deputy White House Chief of Staff Stephen Miller. So you have that. You have the fact that Pete Hegseth, Defense Secretary, unilaterally paused a weapon shipment to Ukraine without alerting Trump. I mean, there are all sorts of indicators that Trump is really not steering the ship, right? Which is ironic given the allegations and aspersions that MAGA and Trump cast about the Democrats vis-a-vis President Biden, right? So I think you don't even have to appeal to the Epstein debacle. You can cite numerous things indicating that Trump really isn't the one guiding the ship here. But let's play the rest of this clip and one or two more.
Do you agree with a special prosecutor has to be an independent special prosecutor has to take over?
Right, and again, that's when, actually, that's the first part of the clip that we played at the very beginning of this episode. So, yeah, I mean, again, pretty blunt, okay? And speaking of blunt, okay, Then you get Charlie Kirk, the man behind the tpusa conference himself. He's the guy in the center. And Jack Posobiec, this right-wing conspiracy theorist, dumbass, hypocrite, unprincipled loser who was recently humiliated by Adam Mockler on an episode of Piers Morgan Uncensored. I had the chance actually to briefly verbally spar with Jack Posobiec like 2 years ago at a free speech, some sort of like quote unquote free speech right wing event in Austin, Texas. Destiny was speaking there at the time, and I went, and they did a Q&A section at the end, and I got a chance to mock Jack Posobiec and call him out for his hypocrisy on because the Twitter files were all the rage at the time. And Jack Posobiec was like, I can't believe the Biden administration, was full on censorship. And we found out that the Trump administration actually pressured Twitter to delete a post by Chrissy Teigen, who is a model, and she's the wife of John Legend, because she referred to Trump as, quote, a pussy-ass bitch on Twitter. And so the Trump White House actually directly reached out and said, delete this mean tweet about Trump, right? So I confronted Jack Posobiec about that, like, oh, you're a Trump supporter and you're defending free speech. There's a mutual exclusivity there. These things are mutually exclusive because Trump attacks free speech all the time. And if you're going to call out the Twitter files for supposedly suppressing free speech under Biden, are you man enough to call out Donald Trump for his censoriousness? And I had to keep pushing and pushing and pushing, but eventually he folded because, of course, he will always lose the debate given Donald Trump's moral inferiority and objectively greater instincts towards censorship. So I love that. So here, Jack Posobiec is humiliated once again by his ally, Steve Bannon, for being, quote unquote, gullible, a sap.
And I would say, everyone in the grassroots, you have to continue to make your voice heard on this, because there is a disconnect between the press corps and what you guys want. And I'll tell you, there is enormous confusion on my part. We're told that there's a list on a desk where, Jack, I don't want to get into your whole thing, but
I get told that's phase one.
Honest, right?
I get told that's phase one.
It's not Jack's fault. Jack was used. I hope you guys understand that.
Thank you, Charlie. But I was told there'd be more. We were all told there was more, and now they're telling us there's nothing.
And like a sap, you believed them. You're from the intelligence community. Jack Posobiec, you're from the intelligence community.
And even Charlie Kirk's like, damn, you see Jack's like offended by. Yeah, listen, I love this. I love it. Please, more MAGA infighting. This is just, it's objectively good for the soul in the country. A divided MAGA movement is so much better for the country because it makes them less likely to inflict harm on this country, including their own supporters and voters. One last thing. This is Steve Bannon's warning cry about the 2026 midterms and its relationship to the Epstein debacle.
It's not about just a pedophile ring and all that. This is about who governs us, right? And that's why it's not going to go away. For this to go away, can we blow the brake, by the way? Can we blow the brake, guys? For this to go away, you're going to lose 10% of the MAGA movement. If we lose 10% of the MAGA movement right now, we're going to lose 40 seats in 26. We're going to lose the president. They don't even have to steal it, which they're going to try to do in 28.
So, again, these people are still so brain rotten when it comes to Trump. They believe that the 2020 election was stolen. Hilarious. But what's funny is Steve Bannon's freaking out about this. And not only is he saying this alongside Jack Posobiec and Natalie Winters, but also Anna Paulina Luna, the brunette to his right, is a sitting member of Congress. She represents a district in Florida, okay? So he's like telling her, like, hey, you guys, this could cost you all the midterms. Fingers crossed that it does. There you have it, folks. MAGA is turning on Donald Trump publicly in real time and in increasingly large numbers. We need to do our part to encourage this, continue this, and feed this momentum as we head into the 2026 midterms. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.